The storm had rolled over the Montana plains long before dawn, leaving the ranch drowning in mud and the air thick with the smell of wet earth, pine, and distant thunder. Rancher Cole Hardin had barely slept. Something about the storm's howl carried a warning he couldn't shake. By sunrise, as the clouds began to drift apart like curtains pulled back by an unseen hand, he saddled his old mare Dusty and rode out to check the northern fence line. That stretch of land had always been strange, quiet, too quiet, the kind of quiet that felt watched. He followed the narrow path through the cottonwoods until a sharp cry shattered the morning stillness. It wasn't a human cry, but it wasn't fully an animal one either. Cole's heart thudded. He urged Dusty forward, turning the corner near the creek, and that's when he saw her. A young woman, no more than 20, slumped against a fallen log, dripping wet, covered in half-dried mud, her clothes torn as though she'd crawled miles through thorns. Her face was pale, her breaths frantic, and when she saw Cole, her voice cracked with desperation. I can't close my legs." Cole froze, not out of embarrassment, but terror, the kind that prickles up a man's spine when something is terribly wrong. She wasn't hurt in the way he first feared. Her legs were stuck in a strange locked position, trembling violently as if some invisible force held them apart. Cole dropped from his horse and stepped toward her carefully, hands raised to show he meant no harm. "Miss, what happened? Did someone do this to you?" he asked, scanning the trees for movement. She shook her head sharply, eyes wide with fear. No one. Something underneath me. I felt it grab me. I couldn't move." Cole knelt beside her, pushing aside the thick, wet grass. Her boots were braced against the ground, legs locked, knees trembling. He reached down cautiously, expecting maybe a rope, a trap, a root twisted around her. But when his hand touched the soil beneath her, he felt something warm, something that moved. Cole jerked back, breath catching in his throat, but forced himself forward again. He swallowed hard, bracing himself, and dug his fingers deeper into the mud. And then he felt it, a hard shape, smooth on the surface, humming faintly like a living heartbeat. It wasn't an animal, it wasn't any kind of trap he'd ever known. The woman's hand gripped his coat collar desperately as she whispered, "Please, get it out. It's holding me down." Cole had survived stampedes, wolf attacks, and the worst bandits Montana had ever seen. But nothing had prepared him for the pulsing object buried beneath the earth. He pulled harder, expecting resistance, but the ground itself seemed to tighten around the object. The humming grew louder, vibrating through the soil, through his wrist, straight into his bones. Dusty whinnied nervously and stepped back, ears pinned flat. Cole gritted his teeth, using his full strength, and suddenly the earth loosened with a gasp-like sound, as if exhaling. Cole stumbled backward, holding the object in his hand. It was a stone, or at least it looked like one. Perfectly round, faintly glowing, warm enough to feel alive. The moment he lifted it, the woman's legs snapped together as though an invisible grip had released her. She collapsed sideways, sobbing in relief. Cole stared at the stone, confusion battling fear. "What in God's name?" he whispered. The woman grabbed his arm, eyes frantic. "You shouldn't have taken it out. It doesn't like to be disturbed." Cole blinked. "It?" She pointed shakily at the hole in the ground where the stone had been. The soil was still trembling. A faint ripple passed through the earth like something beneath was shifting, repositioning. Cole's blood ran cold. He had no idea how long the thing had been there or what else it could do. He helped the woman to her feet, supporting her weight as she tried to stand. "What's your name?" he asked. Her lips trembled. "Lena," she whispered. "I was running from something in the woods. I thought this was a safe spot, but the moment I stepped here, something grabbed my ankles, then my legs. I couldn't move." Cole looked at the stone again, glowing brighter now, pulsing stronger. He wrapped it hastily in his bandana and shoved it into his coat. "We're leaving," he said firmly. "Whatever this is, we're not staying here to find out what else it can do." But as they turned toward Dusty, the ground behind them gave a deep, guttural rumble, like a sleeping beast being woken. Trees rustled, though no wind blew. The air thickened. Lena gripped his arm. "Cole, something is coming." He didn't argue. He lifted her swiftly onto Dusty, swung up behind her, and kicked the horse into a run. As they fled, a final sound echoed through the clearing, a sound neither human nor animal, but something else entirely, something ancient. And as the ranch disappeared behind the hills, the stone inside Cole's coat continued to pulse like a second heartbeat, and deep in the earth, something awakened. They reached the ranch only minutes before the next storm rolled in. But this one wasn't made of clouds or rain. It was a storm of unease, of a deep instinct that warned Cole Hardin he hadn't just picked up a strange stone. He'd triggered something that would not stop until it reclaimed what belonged to it. Inside the ranch house, Lena sat wrapped in a wool blanket, trembling not from cold but from shock. Cole set a pot of water to boil, then placed the wrapped stone on the table, keeping one cautious eye on it. Even through the bandana, it pulsed with that unnatural glow. "Start from the beginning," Cole said, his voice steady though his mind spun with questions. Lena nodded slowly, her fingers twisting the blanket. "I came from Ridgeview," she began. "The town's been strange for weeks, animals disappearing, people hearing voices underground. The sheriff blamed coyotes, but—" She shivered at the memory. "2 nights ago I heard scratching under my floorboards. Not like a rat, heavier, intelligent. When I looked through a crack, something glowed back at me." Cole felt the hairs on his arms rise. "A stone like this?" he asked, tapping the wrapped object. Lena hesitated, not glowing, watching. Before Cole could respond, the stone thumped hard against the table as if it had hurt her. Lena screamed and backed away. Cole grabbed his rifle, though he knew a weapon meant nothing against something that lived beneath the earth. The stone pulsed again, once, twice, then stopped, like a heartbeat slowing. Cole's mind raced. Everything in nature either belonged to the land or fought against it. Whatever this thing was, it belonged under the land, and he had taken it. "Cole," Lena whispered shakily, "do you hear that?" At first he heard nothing, but then, faintly, a dragging sound from the barn outside, something pulling itself slowly across wood and dirt. Cole chambered around, pushed Lena behind the table and stepped to the window. The barn doors trembled. Again. Then, slam! They burst open. Dusty bolted out in terror, sprinting blindly into the storm. Cole cursed under his breath. Something moved in the barn shadows, too large to be a coyote, too slow to be a cougar. It crawled rather than walked, dragging itself as though it had no legs, or too many. Cole backed away from the window. "We're not staying here," he muttered. But as he turned, the entire house shuddered. The floorboards beneath their feet vibrated in a low frequency that rattled Cole's teeth. Lena screamed as the stone on the table rolled toward the edge. It wanted to go back. It wanted the thing outside. And that thing wanted it. The walls creaked, the windows flickered, the house was being surrounded. Not by footsteps, not by voices, but by the earth itself, shifting, responding. Cole grabbed the stone, ignoring the burning heat, wrapped it tighter and hauled Lena toward the back door. But when he pushed it open, the earth behind the ranch was heaving upward as if something massive was tunneling just beneath the surface. "Cole!" Lena cried. The front door burst open. Nothing came through, but a wave of cold air did, smelling like dirt that had never seen sunlight. They were trapped. Cole looked at the fireplace, the stone glowing violently in his hand. "The chimney," he said. "We climb." Lena didn't question it. She scrambled onto the mantel while Cole boosted her upward. As she shoved herself into the narrow brick shaft, Cole heard the unmistakable sound of wood cracking behind him. Something was entering the house, something thick, heavy, a limb, a root, a tentacle. He didn't look, didn't need to. The air turned colder, the stone pulsed hotter. He climbed into the chimney just as the creature's shadow swept across the floor. Lena reached the rooftop first and pulled him up just as something slammed into the bricks below them. They crawled across the roof as lightning split the sky. The ranch grounds below were shifting like something enormous was moving just under the surface, circling the house. Cole held the pulsing stone against his chest and knew one thing. If he didn't return it, the creature would tear the ranch apart, maybe the entire valley. But if he returned it, would it let them go? Lena grabbed his arm. "Cole, look!" On the northern horizon, the ground split open in a glowing fissure, the same light as the stone. The creature was calling, summoning, demanding. Cole made his choice. "We end this," he said. Holding Lena close, he slid down the far side of the roof, jumped into the mud, and sprinted toward the fissure, while the ground behind them erupted in furious tremors. The creature gave a roar that shook the sky. Cole didn't look back. At the edge of the fissure, Lena stumbled, nearly falling in. The heat rising from below scorched their faces. Cole held the stone over the chasm. It hummed, vibrated, and lifted slightly from his hand like it wanted to fly home. "Go," Cole whispered and released it. The stone drifted downward like a falling star. The instant it vanished into the glowing crack, the earth gave a massive sigh, A release of tension built over centuries. The tremors stopped. The roaring ceased. The ground slowly stitched itself shut. Silence fell. Lena collapsed to her knees, sobbing in relief. Cole looked back toward the ranch. The house stood battered but intact. The creature, gone. Whatever it was, whatever it wanted, it had returned to its slumber beneath the earth. Cole helped Lena to her feet. "You're safe now," he said quietly. She gave him a trembling smile. "Thanks to you." Cole tipped his hat. "Let's get back, and maybe not dig up any glowing stones for a while." They walked toward the ranch, the storm clearing overhead, the sky opening in quiet peace. And somewhere deep beneath the land, something ancient settled again, waiting.